Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Exposition of the Holy Quran. By Allama G.A Parwez. Sura 21. Allama G.A verse 1 to 112 end.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون.
1. The day of reckoning of the consequences of whatever these people have been doing has come close, and yet, besotted in their unmindful slumber, they continue on the erroneous path.
ما يأتيهم من ذكر من ربهم محدث إلا استمعوه وهم يلعبون.
2. They never took seriously any code of laws which came to them for the first time from their Rabb. Rather they listened to it with dalliance. 26. 5.
لاهية قلوبهم وأسروا النجوى الذين ظلموا هل هذا إلا بشر مثلكم أفتأتون السحر وأنتم تبصرون.
3. They appear to pay full attention, but their hearts are preoccupied with trifles. In fact, those among them who insist on doing wrong, hold clandestine meetings during the night. On how to suppress this voice. They tell people, look, he is just an ordinary man like you. Do you go to him to listen to his own false talk? Why do you yield to his enchantment with your open eyes?
قال ربي يعلم القول في السماء والأرض وهو السميع العليم.
4. He, their Rasul, tells them whatever I present before you is revealed to me from my Rabb who knows each and everything in the universe. He is all-hearing, all-knowing.
بل قالوا أضغاث أحلام بل افتراه بل هو شاعر فليأتنا بآية كما أرسل الأولون.
5. But they tell the people, these confused thoughts of the Rasul are his own and appear to him as wahi in his dreams. Some of them go even further and say, this person purposely invents these accounts and then attributes them to Allah. Some say, no, he is just a poet who interprets his own exaltation as revelation from God. If he really is the messenger, why does he not show us some miracle? Like, from what we hear, the previous messengers were sent with
ما آمنت قبلهم من قرية أهلكناها أفهم يؤمنون.
6. There is nothing new about these pretexts and pretensions. All nations which were destroyed earlier, were similarly stubborn and arrogant. Even when destruction and doom almost reached their doorsteps, they did not profess Iman. Therefore, no matter what logic or arguments you present before them and how repeatedly you caution them about the grievous consequences, they are not going to express Iman. Their downfall shall come in the same way as it did in the past for people like them.
وما أرسلنا قبلك إلا رجالا نوحي إليهم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
7. As for their contention that this Rasul is just an ordinary man like them, you should tell them, all messengers we had sent earlier were also men. If you do not know this, you can verify it from the followers of earlier divine books. 12. 109. 16. 43.
وما جعلناهم جسدا لا يأكلون الطعام وما كانوا خالدين.
8. Neither did we make their bodies in a way that they would not require any food, nor were they immortal. They ate like ordinary human beings and died when it was their time. Therefore the very concept that a Rasul ought to be someone supernatural and distant from ordinary men is wrong.
ثم صدقناهم الوعد فأنجيناهم ومن نشاء وأهلكنا المسرفين.
9. All Rasul were human beings, and through them we proved our promises, which we communicated to their opponents, to be true. For in accordance with our law of Mashiyat, we saved those who accepted the divine guidance and destroyed those who rebelled and transgressed beyond bounds.
لقد أنزلنا إليكم كتابا فيه ذكركم أفلا تعقلون.
10. Tell them, according to this program, we have now revealed to you this code of laws in which lies the secret of your own dignity and magnificence. If only you apply reason and intellect to understand this reality, it will become clear to you that this code of laws is given to you for your own exaltation and eminence. Allah has no personal motives in it. 21. 24. 23. 70. 43. 43 to 44.
وكم قصمنا من قرية كانت ظالمة وأنشأنا بعدها قوما آخرين.
11. If you shape your lifestyle in accordance with this code, you will attain heights of dignity, elegance, and greatness. But if you turn away, you too will be destroyed like the iniquitable nations before you. Thereafter we raised other nations in their stead.
فلما أحسوا بأسنا إذا هم منها يركضون.
12. The effects of their wrong behavior were being compiled without them realizing it. Although they were cautioned to leave the wrong path, they did not pay any heed to this warning. Thus the imperceptible effects accumulated slowly and finally confronted them. Then they tried to flee. 7. 182. 16. 26.
لا تركضوا وارجعوا إلى ما أترفتم فيه ومساكنكم لعلكم تسألون.
13. But at that time they could not escape. Our law of Makafat called them and said, where can you run away now? Do not try to flee. Return to all that which gave you so much intoxicating pleasure. Come back to your palaces, where you considered yourselves to be so safe, so that you may be asked to account for the labor that made all this and about what right you had over it. 102. 8.
قالوا يا ويلنا إنا كنا ظالمين.
14. At that time they could not but accept that they were Zalimin. They were sorry and ashamed of themselves.
فما زالت تلك دعواهم حتى جعلناهم حصيدا خامدين.
15. But then feeling sorry is of no use. When one is confronted with the outcome of one's deeds, nothing can be reversed. Thus they continued crying, lamented the wrongs they had done and were extremely ashamed. However, our law of Makafat turned them into a mowed down field in which nothing could grow, like an extinguished flame devoid of any life. 36. 28.
وما خلقنا السماء السماء والأرض وما بينهما لاعبين.
16. They thought that we have created this heaven and earth and all that is in between, the universe, just for fun, an idle play. No, not at all. We have created all this for a great purpose. And the purpose is that no work would be done without producing a result, whether it involves a person or a nation. All actions will continue producing very accurate results. 11. 71. 45. 22. 53. 31.
لو أردنا أن نتخذ لهوا لاتخذناه من لدنا إن كنا فاعلين.
17. If we had willed to make this universe indulge in idle play without any purpose, we ourselves could have made it that way. But we did not make it so.
بل نقذف بالحق على الباطل فيدمغه فإذا هو زاهق ولكم الويل مما تصفون.
18. We have made it such that there is constant tussle between creative and destructive forces. The constructive forces of truth continue overcoming the negative and destructive forces of falsehood, until such time that the latter has been crushed and withers away. This in fact is our cosmic program. On the other hand, everything you say about creation being specifically purposeless and just for fun, that there is no system which can hold everyone accountable for his actions or which ensures that wrong actions produce lethal results, is absolutely wrong. This attitude is regrettable and liable to cause utter ruin.
وله من في السماوات والأرض ومن عنده لا يستكبرون عن عبادته ولا يستحسرون.
19. Whatever exists in the universe is actively accomplishing his destined program. The heavenly forces can neither dare disobey his divine laws, nor can they become tired of discharging their duties.
يسبحون الليل والنهار لا يفترون.
20. They are ardently busy and never flagging, day and night, in accomplishing the destined program.
أم اتخذوا آلهة من الأرض هم ينشرون.
21. These people also accept that the universe has been created by Allah and is in operation according to his laws. 23. 84 to 85. 29. 60 to 62. 31. 25. 39. 38. 43. 9. However, they are not ready to admit that their own socio-economic system and life should also be subordinated to his laws. They carve separate deities for their earthly affairs, thinking that lives should be governed by their own or other man-made laws, and believe that they should progress and flourish accordingly. In short, they profess that there should be two different ilahas, one for the outer universe and the other for life on earth. God should rule the physical world and earth should be ruled by man. What a terrible mistake they are committing.
لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا فسبحان الله رب العرش عما يصفون.
22. If there had been a sovereign other than Allah, meaning that divine laws were in force in one sphere while laws by other authorities were being obeyed in another, the entire system of the universe would have run into chaos. Allah, who is the supreme authority, has kept in his own hands the central control of the universal Nizam-e-Rububiyyat. He is far above what human beings may devise about him in their own minds. 6. 3. 16. 51. 39. 67. 43. 84.
لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون.
23. The most distinctive feature of his sovereignty is that no one can ask him the reasons for creating the universe like he has, or why such laws are being enforced. This means that sovereignty in the universe rests with Allah alone. On the other hand, everyone else can be asked the reasons for devising different codes of life for themselves. Being asked means that neither can any other code of life fit in the overall program of the cosmos, nor has anyone else been vested the right and authority to do so.
أم اتخذوا من دونه آلهة قل هاتوا برهانكم هذا ذكر من معي وذكر من قبلي بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون الحق فهم معرضون.
24. In spite of such sound arguments, these people have chosen other rulers, instead of him. Ask them to produce arguments in support of their stand. They will certainly be unable to bring any argument in their support. 23. 117. Tell them that, my people are with me for the manifesto which I present, as was the case of other people, Anbiya and their companions, before me. This is a source of exaltation for these people, just as it was for those before them. These opponents do not know the facts and are therefore avoiding this manifesto which is based on truth and reality. They are either doing so under the influence of their emotions, or they are simply blindly following their ancestors.
وما أرسلنا من قبلك من رسول إلا نوحي إليه أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدون.
25. This course has been in vogue from the very beginning. Accordingly, we have never sent any Rasul before you, without our wahi, that sovereignty in the universe lies with Allah alone and nobody else. Thus you should obey only him. And likewise is the present wahi.
وقالوا اتخذ الرحمن ولدا سبحانه بل عباد مكرمون. 26.
They are so ignorant that they also entertain the belief that Ar-Rahman has begotten a son. He is beyond such a phenomenon, and those whom they regard as his offspring are only his honored and obedient servants.
لا يسبقونه بالقول وهم بأمره يعملون.
27. Such is their obedience that they do not go beyond him in any matter. They only go to the extent to which they are ordained and commanded to.
يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يشفعون إلا لمن ارتضى وهم من خشيته مشفقون.
28. This is also not the case in which their outward behavior does not reflect the different views which they hold inside their hearts. Allah is fully aware of their circumstances and conditions with regard to their past and present, as well as the future. Nobody except those whose actions are in conformity with the divine laws enjoys his corroboration and support. They in fact are afraid of the consequences of defying divine laws. 6. 15.
ومن يقل منهم إني إله من دونه فذلك نجزيه جهنم كذلك نجزي الظالمين.
29. None of them can claim that he is also an ilah. 3. 78. If, for the sake of argument, any one of them ever claims that besides him, he is also an ilah, that he also wields the same authority as that of Allah. Then we will send him to Jahannam, in the same way we requite others. Alameen.
أولم ير الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون.
30. Out of their sheer ignorance some people take natural phenomena as deities or divinities. This is despite the fact the entire continuum of the universe has been created by Allah and remains fervently in action according to His given program. At present various phenomena in the universe appear to them as functioning separately from one another, but do they not seriously understand that in the initial stages of creation all of them were one mass which we then parted, so that the various celestial bodies started floating in their own orbits? 21. 33. 36. 40. Take for example the planet Earth. In its initial stages it separated from the original mass, just like a stone thrown out from a catapult. 79. 30. Later, when the Earth became ready to bear or produce living things, we started life from water. All living things are created from a mixture of water. 24. 45. And over this fountain of life Allah has kept His own control. 11. 7. It is strange that even after all this explanation, they do not believe that only Allah wields absolute sovereignty over everything in the universe.
وجعلنا في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بهم وجعلنا فيها فجاجا سبلا لعلهم يهتدون.
31. And we have made earth such that as it continuously revolves, people live on it undisturbed. 16. 15. Furthermore on it we made firm mountains, which function like water reservoirs and hold minerals for your use, and valleys and ravines which are used as passageways.
وجعلنا السماء سقفا محفوظا وهم عن آياتها معرضون.
32. And over the earth we created an atmosphere which is safe in itself and which keeps the inhabitants protected from the destruction caused by meteors falling from above. These are all open visible signs, pointing to the reality that all physical things are working under the divine laws, and that no one else has any power or authority over them. In spite of this, people insist on turning away from these facts.
وهو الذي خلق الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر كل في فلك يسبحون.
33. It is Allah who has made night and day follow each other, due to the revolution of the earth, and created the sun and the moon, each one floating through space in its own orbit.
وما جعلنا لبشر من قبلك الخلد أفإن مت فهم الخالدون.
34. The truthfulness of our laws can be understood and appreciated by observing these universal signs. However, these people still insist that the Rasul must produce signs which are different from natural phenomena, to show that he is someone supernatural. Tell them the Rasul are also like other human beings. They eat and drink and then pass away. Even before you we did not create any human being who would live forever. Just as you have to die one day, they too are not going to live forever.
كل نفس ذائقة الموت ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة وإلينا ترجعون.
35. Every living being in the world has to die. As regards this worldly life and its vicissitudes, All of you pass through the crucible of good or bad, so that your latent potentialities may develop accordingly. Each action of yours is subjected to our law of Makafat. And you cannot run away from that.
وَإِذَا رَآكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِن يَتَّخِذُونَكَ إِلَّا هُزُوًا أَهَذَا الَّذِي يَذْكُرُ آلِهَتَكُمْ وَهُمْ بِذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ.
36. O Rasul, when the people who refuse to accept the truth of our laws meet you, and because they cannot rebut any of your assertions with logical arguments, out of sheer humiliation, they start making fun of you and tell one another, this is the person who speaks so contemptuously of your gods, and denies their divinity. They make you the target of mockery for not accepting their fake deities, while they themselves are not prepared even to listen to the name of Ar-Rahman, who in reality is the only Ilaha. They totally refuse all this.
خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ عَجَلٍ سَأُرِيكُمْ آيَاتِي فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ.
37. This is because man does not possess enough farsightedness and tends to be impetuous. 17. 11. Because the accounting of their refusal and rebellion against truth does not take place promptly, they make fun of your warnings. Tell them, do not be in haste. That day is not far off when these signs of Allah will appear before you as absolute reality, and you will see them with your own eyes.
وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ.
38. We also know that they repeatedly ask you, if you are speaking the truth, when will that promised threat of devastation come?
لو يعلم الذين كفروا حين لا يكفون عن وجوههم النار ولا عن ظهورهم ولا هم ينصرون.
39. If the people who are insisting on denying the law of Makafat ever understand even a little about the coming revolution, when the fury of war breaks out, they will certainly realize that they cannot ward off its flames from their faces or from their backs. At that time no one will be able to come to their rescue, and no one will be in haste to help.
بل تأتيهم بغتة فتبهتهم فلا يستطيعون ردها ولا هم ينظرون.
40. The coming revolution will overtake them very abruptly and dumbfound them. Neither will they have any power to divert it, nor will they be given any respite to move aside and save themselves.
وَلَقَدِ اسْتُهْزِئَ بِرُسُلٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُم مَّا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ.
41. The fact is that this ridicule and scoffing is not something new. Even before you many Rusul had been ridiculed. But what was the result of this? Those who scoffed at them were eventually overpowered by the very things they ridiculed.
قُلْ مَن يَكْلَؤُكُم بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ مِنَ الرَّحْمَنِ بل هم عن ذكر ربهم معرضون.
42. O Rasul, just ask them, whether it be day or night, is there any force which can save you from the grip of Ar-Rahman? But what reply can they give? They have become totally unmindful of their Rabb's law of Makafat.
أَمْ لَهُمْ آلِهَةٌ تَمْنَعُهُمْ من دوننا لا يستطيعون نصر أنفسهم ولا هم منا يصحبون.
43. Do they really believe? Are there some forces which will save them from our clutches? How can those they consider their deities shield them when the fact is that neither are they able to help or protect their own selves, nor do we render any protection to them. Only those who lead their lives according to our laws receive our protection.
بل متعنا هؤلاء وآباءهم حتى طال عليهم العمر أفلا يرون أنا نأتي الأرض ننقصها من أطرافها أفهم الغالبون.
44. We actually abundantly provided them and their forefathers with all the necessities of life. But they became intoxicated with it. As the ages passed, they thought that no one would ever take these away from them. But do they ever reflect on how we gradually reduce their holdings by taking away the sources of wealth, the land, from the chieftains? 13. 41. Despite this, they believe that they would always have an upper hand and that our system cannot overpower them.
قل إنما أنذركم بالوحي ولا يسمع الصم الدعاء إذا ما ينذرون.
45. Tell them, the warnings I convey to you about the consequences of your conduct are based on the strength of divine revelation, and not on my personal assessment or opinion. Therefore there is no room for any doubt or error. But what can one do? When you become totally deaf and ignore the call, how can my warnings benefit you?
وَلَئِن مَسَّتْهُمْ نَفْحَةٌ مِّنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّكَ لَيَقُولُنَّ يَا وَيْلَنَا إِنَّا كُنَّا ظَالِمِينَ.
46. The punishment of the coming revolution is so severe that even if they were to get a whiff of it, they will immediately come to their senses and will cry out, indeed we were the wrongdoers. Therefore this doom was sure to come to us.
ونضع الموازين القسط ليوم القيامة فلا تظلم نفس شيئا وإن كان مثقال حبة من خردل أتينا بها وكفى بنا حاسبين.
47. This great punishment will not occur blindly. Nothing comes blindly from us, for we shall set up scales of justice on the day of manifestation of the results, and no one will be wronged in the least. Even if it, good or evil, is the weight of one mustard grain, we shall take it into account. And none can take better account than us. 99. 7-8.
ولقد آتينا موسى وهارون الفرقان وضياء وذكرا للمتقين.
48. Such revolutions had also taken place through the previous Anbiya. For example, to Moses and Aaron we revealed the code of laws which was the distinct discriminator between right and wrong. It was a source of guidance and honor for those wanting to be saved from the evil effects of life.
الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب وهم من الساعة مشفقون.
49. That is for those who feared the unseen consequences of their denial of the divine law. They trembled at the very thought of the coming revolution.
وهذا ذكر مبارك أنزلناه أفأنتم له منكرون.
50. Now this Quran, which is a divine code of laws, has been revealed by us and it stands surety to the pleasures of life. Will you even reject this?
ولقد آتينا إبراهيم رشده من قبل وكنا به عالمين.
51. And, long before the time of Moses and Aaron, we bestowed a lute of rectitude on Abraham, which befitted his status and was necessary for accomplishing the task being assigned to him. For we were well aware of his circumstances.
إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون.
52. He asked his father and his nation, what are these statues which you worship so intensely and for which you have become caretakers? Just use your common sense and judge who is greater, you yourselves who have carved them or the statues.
قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين.
53. They replied, we do not know anything except that we had seen our forefathers worshipping them. So likewise we started doing so.
قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين.
54. Abraham said, you are in clear error and so were your forefathers, who bowed before the idols they carved with their own hands, thus destroying the dignity and status bestowed on mankind.
قالوا أجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين.
55. They retorted, O Abraham, are you really serious or are you just joking?
قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلكم من الشاهدين.
56. Abraham said, there is no joke in it. Just think about it. Can the statues which you carve with your own hands ever qualify to be man's God? It is your Rabb who has brought the entire universe into being out of nothingness, and continues developing it. The only proof you have to justify your claim is that your forefathers had been doing the same. But I stand witness to my own claim, and can produce whatever firm evidence you ask for. Just think about whose evidence can be more trustworthy.
وتالله لأكيدن أصنامكم بعد أن تولوا مدبرين.
57. You believe that these idols will destroy anyone who is even a little insolent to them. In order to disprove this contention and also to show how helpless your deities really are, I will bring them down after you leave. And Allah is a witness that I shall certainly do so. You can then see for yourselves whether they really have any power. I will do it after you go away from this place. Because if I do it in your presence you will surely stand up to defend the deities, and then deceive the people by telling them that I could do them no harm. In your absence the matter remains between me and the statues. And then it will become abundantly clear that they do not have any power, not even to defend themselves.
فجعلهم جذاذا إلا كبيرا لهم لعلهم إليه يرجعون.
58. Hence Abraham smashed the idols into pieces, except the biggest one so that the people may turn to it. In this way they could be told that their biggest deity was still present, and they could question it about how all this happened in its presence. If that idol had also been broken, there would be no point for this line of reasoning.
قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين.
59. So when these people came to the temple and saw the fate of the idols, they exclaimed, who has done all this to our deities? Whoever has done this is surely a zalim and out of bounds.
قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم.
60. The priests knew who had done this but deliberately concealed it. If they disclosed that Abraham had warned them beforehand, they themselves would be held responsible for their failure to protect the deities. However, some of the people said, "We have heard a youth by the name of Abraham talking about these idols. And perhaps he is the one who has done this."
قالوا فأتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون.
61. In order to regain credibility or just to keep face, the priests said, "Bring him, Abraham, here before the people, so that they may give evidence against him, that he was the youth talking against the deities."
قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم.
62. Abraham was called and people identified him as the same person who used to talk against the idols. The priests then took the position of the court, as otherwise their failure to protect these idols was a very serious allegation on them. They told Abraham, "The allegation against you is that you have done this to our gods. Now what do you have to say in your defense?"
قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون.
63. For Abraham the time had come to achieve the purpose for which he had done all this. If he had given a simple reply like, "Why are you behaving so innocently in asking me all this? Had I not forewarned you how I was going to deal with your deities?" this would surely have aroused people's feelings and the truth would not have manifested itself. Abraham said, "This may be looked into later. But for the present just reflect over it. You believe that your deities possess lots of powers to fulfill the wishes of their followers and destroy their enemies. In your opinion the powers of the biggest one are unlimited. Now all this has happened in his presence. Why did he not stop the one who has done this by employing his might and saving all the other deities from destruction?" On hearing this reply there was complete silence. Then Abraham addressed the priests and said, "You used to tell people that these deities have the knowledge of the unseen and know everything. Whenever someone comes to ask you about anything, you assure him that you would reply after asking the deities. Then you come back with a reply pretending that the deities had said so. Now if you are true in your assertion, why don't you ask them directly instead of asking me about who had done this mischief unto them?" 37. 88 to 98.
فرجعوا إلى أنفسهم فقالوا إنكم أنتم الظالمون.
64. This reply of Abraham put the priests in a very awkward position. Moving somewhat away from the crowd they started telling each other that in fact they themselves were at fault.
ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم لقد علمت ما هؤلاء ينطقون.
65. On the face of it they were all convinced, but it went beyond the ways of priesthood and their status, position, and attitude to accept the facts openly. Even after touching such heights of reason and logic, they again fell victim to ignorance and superstitions. They came back to Abraham and said, "You have raised this point just to win a debate, for you know fully well that these deities do not talk."
قال أفتعبدون من دون الله ما لا ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم.
66. Said Abraham upon this, "How sad and strange is it that you have left Allah aside and have willingly made these idols for worship, when they can neither do you any good, nor bring any harm."
أف لكم ولما تعبدون من دون الله أفلا تعقلون.
67. Fie on you and those you worship other than Allah. Will you not use any reason at all?
قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين.
68. They had nothing to discuss with Abraham, except that which any group of doubters always does in such situations. They instigated the masses and said, if you have any courage you should get up and burn this person alive and thereby openly uphold your deities.
قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ.
69. Thus while they were busy flaming the fire of revenge, we were planning a way to cool down its flames so that no harm would come to Abraham.
وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ.
70. We rendered ineffective the strategy they had planned against Abraham. And thus they were unsuccessful in their plan. 29. 24. 37. 98.
ونجيناه ولوطا إلى الأرض التي باركنا فيها للعالمين.
71. We saved Abraham and Lut, his companion, from the nefarious designs of these people and guided them towards the land which we had made blissful and peaceful for all humanity. 29. 24. 37. 98. Thus by migrating from one place to another, the Rusul of Allah kept themselves safe from the evil and harmful planning of their enemies.
ووهبنا له إسحاق ويعقوب نافلة وكلا جعلنا صالحين.
72. Abraham then started a new life in the green and fertile land of Syria. And he was successful in his mission. There we blessed him with a son Isaac and a grandson Jacob, both of whom were gifted with the best of righteous qualities.
وجعلناهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا وأوحينا إليهم فعل الخيرات وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وكانوا لنا عابدين.
73. And we bestowed upon them the leadership of their people who, according to our laws, were guided to the right path. We revealed to them laws through which they could establish the system of salat and zakat, and for the benefit of their people actively partake in constructive deeds. All of them obeyed our laws and commands.
ولوطا آتيناه حكما وعلما ونجيناه من القرية التي كانت تعمل الخبائث إنهم كانوا قوم سوء فاسقين.
74. Lut had also migrated with Abraham. At that time he was like other Mu'minin, but later we bestowed upon him the knowledge and wisdom of Nabi, according to which he could decide the affairs of his people. As people of his community were lewd and did abominable deeds, we destroyed that habitation and took Lut to another safe place.
وأدخلناه في رحمتنا إنه من الصالحين.
75. We blessed him with our grace and bounties, for he too was one of the Salihin.
ونوحا إذ نادى من قبل فاستجبنا له فنجيناه وأهله من الكرب العظيم.
76. Similar to this is the story of Noah, whose era was earlier than that of these Anbiya. He persistently avowed his people to come onto the righteous path, but they continued to rebel. When their transgression crossed all limits, Noah called us. We responded to his call and saved him and his companions from great distress.
ونصرناه من القوم الذين كذبوا بآياتنا إنهم كانوا قوم سوء فأغرقناهم أجمعين.
77. And we helped him against those who had belied our laws. They were really wicked people, so we drowned them one and all.
وداود وسليمان إذ يحكمان في الحرث إذ نفشت فيه غنم القوم وكنا لحكمهم شاهدين.
78. Likewise is the story of David and Solomon. Both were busy consolidating and strengthening their state and making it prosperous for the Bani Israel. But their people were out to destroy their land, just like a wayward herd grazing away a shepherd's fields without his knowledge. These people in fact never wanted to live a disciplined life. And we were watching how the two, David and Solomon, planned to discipline their community.
ففهمناها سليمان وكلا آتينا حكما وعلما وسخرنا مع داود الجبال يسبحن والطير وكنا فاعلين.
79. During David's era not much could be done to correct these people, however. Solomon understood and comprehended the situation more profoundly. He succeeded in tightening the discipline of these people. We had in fact bestowed on both these Anbiya the wisdom of Nubuwwah and authority to govern. Such was the extent and strength of David's empire that we subjugated all chieftains of these tribes as well as the mighty horse riders belonging to Ta'i tribe, which formed the most powerful section of his cavalry. 27. 16. 34. 10. All of them were united in their support for him. They were busy, day and night, performing their duties. And all this was in accordance with our divine assignment.
وعلمناه صنعة لبوس لكم لتحصنكم من بأسكم فهل أنتم شاكرون.
80. And we taught him how to make armor, so that by wearing it he would be safe from the enemy's weapons in the battlefield. Even then you were ungrateful to him, and actively conspired to weaken the state.
ولسليمان الريح عاصفة تجري بأمره إلى الأرض التي باركنا فيها وكنا بكل شيء عالمين.
81. As for Solomon, we tamed the stormy and tempestuous sea winds so that according to his program, he could sail his ships to the rich and fertile lands. And most certainly we do have knowledge of everything.
ومن الشياطين من يغوصون له ويعملون عملا دون ذلك وكنا لهم حافظين.
82. We also made people of the large rebellious tribes subservient to him. For him they dived into the sea and brought out pearls. They also performed various other works for him, and we kept watch over them, so that they would not become rebellious. 34. 1. 38. 37.
وأيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين.
83. And similarly, recall the incident when Job called out to his Rabb and said, "A painful affliction has befallen me, and in order to get rid of it I need your rahmath." It is obvious that nobody would be greater than you in granting me rahmath and nourishment. 38. 41.
فاستجبنا له فكشفنا ما به من ضر وآتيناه أهله ومثلهم معهم رحمة من عندنا وذكرى للعابدين.
84. Whereupon we responded and relieved him of his misery. He was united with his companions and many others like them. All this was an act of grace from us. In this episode also there is a lesson for those who obey our laws.
وإسماعيل وإدريس وذا الكفل كل من الصابرين.
85. Similarly there were Anbiya like Ishmael, Idris, and Zulkifl. All of them were steadfast in their missions.
وأدخلناهم في رحمتنا إنهم من الصالحين.
86. We bestowed our rahmat on all of them. They were all in the category of the Salihin.
وذا النون إذ ذهب مغاضبا فظن أن لن نقدر عليه فنادى في الظلمات أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين.
87. And likewise is the story of Dun-Nun, who became distressed and angry with his nation and left them. Although he had not yet been commanded to migrate. He had however not taken this step out of any rebellious attitude, for he believed that since the step was not against any divine command, Allah would not question him or put him to any hardship. When he was trapped into difficulties due to his wrong program, he called out to us and said, "There is no one except you who has the authority and power to save me from this distress. My haste in taking this step without waiting for a decree from you was an act of transgression on my part. The only decision which is correct is that which comes from you." 37. 139. 68. 48.
فاستجبنا له ونجيناه من الغم وكذلك ننجي المؤمنين.
88. We responded to his call and relieved him from his distress. We similarly relieve from their distresses all those who have faith in the truthfulness and firmness of our laws.
وزكريا إذ نادى ربه رب لا تذرني فردا وأنت خير الوارثين.
89. Likewise, recall the story of Zechariah when he called his Rab and said, "O my Rab, do not leave me in this world without an heir, although you alone are the best of heirs." For all of us, one's need for an heir, however, is also evident. 3. 33. 19. 5-7.
فاستجبنا له ووهبنا له يحيى وأصلحنا له زوجه إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين.
90. We responded to his call and cured his wife of infertility, and bestowed on him a son of the stature of John. All these Anbiya aggressively pursued everything that was for the benefit of humanity, and sought guidance from us in all walks of life, whether conditions were good or adverse. They waited for directions from us and obeyed them, because they were aware of the dangerous consequences of taking any step against the divine laws. They were always fearful of defiance.
والتي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيها من روحنا وجعلناها وابنها آية للعالمين.
91. And also remember the story of the chaste lady on whom, much against the self-made laws of the Jews, we bestowed a son of the stature of Jesus. And just as we bestow an element of divine energy on every human offspring, thereby giving it the power and authority of choice and discretion, we bestowed the same on Jesus. 3. 44. 19. 16. 32. 9. Both of them were living examples for people, showing the marked difference between decisions made in accordance with divine laws and those taken under man-made laws. The self-made Sharia of Jews declared them to be accursed and reprobates, whereas Allah's Sharia made them worthy of all respect.
إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون.
92. O Rasul, this was your group of Anbiya, a single community from the beginning to the end. Their teachings and the objectives were the same. We had told them all that the focal point of their teachings should be that I alone am your Rabb. Therefore you should only obey me and let no one else share this position. 23. 52.
وتقطعوا أمرهم بينهم كل إلينا راجعون.
93. It is apparent that if all Anbiya were members of one community and their teachings were also the same, their followers too should also have been like one united community. However, due to their differences they, Anbiya, tore this unity to pieces. Although ultimately they all have to revert to our laws. For certainly man has no other course leading to success and prosperity.
فمن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا كفران لسعيه وإنا له كاتبون.
94. The basic law is that the person who is convinced of the truthfulness of divine laws and acts upon the beneficent program prescribed by him will not only develop his own self but he will also set right and improve the impaired affairs of society. His efforts will not go to waste, as they will be fully fruitful. This is because our law of Makafat records and preserves everyone's efforts and activities.
وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون.
95. On the contrary, people whose abilities stop growing are destroyed. They are then completely deprived of all the pleasures of life, and cannot return towards prosperity. 17. 58.
حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون.
96. However, there is a recourse. When mighty and aggressive nations emerge from their countries to overrun and occupy weaker nations. 18. 94. After a period of adjustment, the latter will show signs of awakening and try to regain their lost status and position. Thus they get a new lease of life.
واقترب الوعد الحق فإذا هي شاخصة أبصار الذين كفروا يا ويلنا قد كنا في غفلة من هذا بل كنا ظالمين.
97. And tell those people that, as stated earlier, the revolution which will bring forth solid and constructive results is near. Those who deny the truth of our law will be shocked and exclaim, Oh, woe unto us! How unaware we were of this impending revolution that we continued to transgress.
إنكم وما تعبدون من دون الله حصب جهنم أنتم لها واردون.
98. At that time they will be told, you, and all the leaders you obeyed in place of the divine laws, are fuel for Jahannam, the devastating and fiery chastisement. Its flames are not fueled from external sources. Your own misdeeds become its flames. You yourself ignite it and then burn in it.
لو كان هؤلاء آلهة ما وردوها وكل فيها خالدون.
99. If these deities of yours truly had any power, then why should they, your leaders, be drawn into this devastating chastisement? Now they will remain trapped in it.
لهم فيها زفير وهم فيها لا يسمعون.
100. Their screaming and crying will be so loud and intense that they will be unable to hear anyone.
إن الذين سبقت لهم منا الحسنى أولئك عنها مبعدون.
101. However, those who, on account of their deeds, have been adjudged worthy of a balanced way of life will be kept far away from this chastisement.
لا يسمعون حسيسها وهم فيما اشتهت أنفسهم خالدون.
102. So far away that they will not even hear the faintest sound thereof. 71. All their desires will be fulfilled and they will forever abide in that pleasant state.
لا يحزنهم الفزع الأكبر وتتلقاهم الملائكة هذا يومكم الذي كنتم توعدون.
103. Even the most serious revolution will not disturb them. And all constructive forces of the universe will be with them. They will be told that this is the era which they had been promised would come one day. 27. 89.
يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده وعدا علينا إنا كنا فاعلين.
104. In that era we will roll up all those who are in the high echelons of society, like a scroll that is rolled up after the accounts are closed. This is because at that time they would no longer be needed. The social values and economic system would be under one control. 39. 67. Equality of mankind would return once more, just as it existed in the first era of human creation. Society would revert to being like when all mankind was one nation and means of nourishment were freely available to everyone too. 213. 10. 19. This is our promise, established program, which will be fulfilled.
ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون.
105. And after explaining these relevant matters, in every revealed book we had laid down the basic and fundamental law that the rightful heirs of the earth, the state, its governance, and sources of wealth, shall only be the people who possess abilities in these matters and who live according to our laws.
إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين.
106. This basic law of life has the absolute potential reality for every nation that lives according to our laws. This reality is that the inheritance of earth is conditional on capability as well as obedience of the divine law. Without these two qualities one can attain temporary superiority, but cannot have it as a rightful inheritance.
وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين.
107. The code of divine laws according to which you become the rightful inheritors of this earth, has now been given to the people through you. So, O Rasul, proclaim to all people that their correct and complete development can only be achieved through obeying these divine laws. The nation that rejects these laws will be deprived of divine blessings. 961. Your nubuwwat shall thus become a source of real blessings. Rahmath. For all humanity.
قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون.
108. Proclaim that the essence of the teachings which have been revealed to you, is that real authority and power lie with Allah alone. No one besides Allah is worthy of obedience and subservience. Ask them, do you submit to the obedience of these laws? Or not?
فإن تولوا فقل آذنتكم على سواء وإن أدري أقريب أم بعيد ما توعدون.
109. If they turn away, tell them, I have warned you about the consequences of the right or wrong way of living. It is at your own discretion whether to accept it or not. Should you not accept it, you will be destroyed. I cannot tell you when that hour of doom about which you are being warned will come, whether it shall be soon or later, but it will certainly come.
إنه يعلم الجهر من القول ويعلم ما تكتمون.
110. Even if you adopt a hypocritical attitude and present what you do not have in your heart, the onset of the hour of doom will not stop, because Allah's law of Makafat is well aware of whatever you say openly or that which you conceal in your hearts.
وإن أدري لعله فتنة لكم ومتاع إلى حين.
111. And if there is some delay in its occurrence, I do not know whether a delay will add to your miseries, or whether it will give respite to enable you to take some advantage from the provisions of life.
قال رب احكم بالحق وربنا الرحمن المستعان على ما تصفون.
112. The Rasul conveyed everything to the people in accordance with the divine guidance, and thereafter he said, O my Rabb, time has now come for you to announce the verdict between me and these people. Then he told his people, our sustainer, our Rabb is our Rahman. We implore his succor that he may grant us the complete development of our abilities, so that we are able to stand up to all that he ascribes.